As I said, though as part of a best practice, we are going to use SSA's live connection and we are just to drag and drop the data. But here, but here, there are some scenarios, some business users, they are not aware of SQL. They are not going to use SQL. They have the Excel data, CSV data. They are going to do their self-service. At that time, if they want some transformation, if they want some filtering, okay, in order to improve their performance, we have an option called edit queries. Edit queries. And and at the time of connecting any source, it is going to showcase an option called edit, which will allow you to transform or filter the data according to your needs. Now, whenever you click on edit query, it will take you to another place where you can perform some transformations. Now, here I came, and here I have mainly three types of windows are there. One is queries, the second one is a preview pane, the third one is query settings. Okay, so queries is nothing but each table that you loaded will be considered as a query. Okay, each table that you loaded, that will be considered as a query. So here we loaded four tables, those are four queries are there, and each table that has a preview. If you want to see the preview of each table or whatever the query that you loaded, that can be showcased from here. That is what a preview pane. This is a query pane. So where the list of queries that you loaded will be available. And query settings. Query settings are nothing but after after loading after establishing a specific connection, after selecting a specific table, what are all the transformations that you have done so far will be available as a steps there. Or if I want to remove some column, if I want to remove some column, that was added a step as a here. So whatever the transformation that you are applied, that will be recorded as a steps here. That will be recorded as steps here. So you no need to write any SQL code. You just need to take care of all the operations whatever which are available over here. So even if I sort, it is mentioning sorted rows. Okay. So whatever the transformation that you want to do it here, or whatever the operation that you do, that will be recorded as a step. Thereafter, whenever you perform a refresh, all these steps will be executed one after one. And at the final step, whatever the data that you have, at the final step, whatever the data that you have, that will be displayed to you, that will be loaded to you. So, as part of edit queries, I said edit queries for a whenever you are working with a worst framework, or whenever they don't have a databases, whenever they don't have SSAS cubes, for them, those people will use this one. And and even though you have those things, some people will load the data here. That is not a good framework. And whenever you load here, if they want to do some SQL operations, they can do with the help of edit queries. Here, the queries window is nothing but the list of tables that you loaded and the list of tables that you created. And preview pane, each table the preview will be showcased. And the query settings are nothing but the the transformations that you applied or the filters that you applied, everything will be recorded here. Operation that you are doing, everything will be recorded here. And whenever you perform a refresh, all these steps will get executed, and that will get the data, that will display the data. So that is what the query settings. Now here, in order to understand each and every option better, so we'll see about the options of a tables. As part of queries, what are the options are there, we'll see. So on a table level, we have a copy option here there. So you can copy the entire table. So if you want to extract, if you want to extract this table data in another Excel sheet, or if you want to extract this data in another Excel sheet, or if you want to create a table, and if you wanted to paste the data there, you can use it, especially for exporting purpose, or copy paste. Once you copy it, then after if you want to paste it, you can paste it. That is different. And delete, if you want to delete a table, if you don't want this table, you can delete it. If you want to rename a table from a source system, the table is coming with a name called sales data, department, and employee, but you wanted to rename the table, you can rename it. And if you want to duplicate a table, you can duplicate it. Why? Because you might have a different requirements of a report of on a same table. So on a same table, if you are applying all the transformations, it will get. So let's consider a scenario on a sales data. I want to perform. I want to capture some information group wise, city name wise, group wise, the details. City name wise, sum of the amount paid. So whenever I perform this one, my original source table got removed. Only I have the information at a city level, the amount paid or pending amount, whatever. For one visualization in my report, that is fine. For one requirement, that is fine. But for another requirement, sorry, for another requirement, I have the complete data. Where is the data? That data was removed. So as part of your report requirement, you need to prepare different data sets at different granularities. In that context, if you modify your source table, you cannot work with other visualizations. So in that context, what we are going to do is we are going to duplicate it. We are going to duplicate it, and you are going to do whatever you want here. You can be aggregate at a book level, city level, month level, whatever the level, you can aggregate it, or you can do transformation whatever you want. On the other hand, if I need to do any other transformation on entire report level or data level, I have the same table available. I will create from there. So duplicate, you can make it. And reference is nothing but whenever you want to perform a joins, especially whenever you are working with the hierarchical data, the self joins whenever you are going to perform. So in SQL, what you are going to say, where select a star from table name, where employee equal to E, join employee equal to M, you will mention the same table name, different instance names you are going to provide, different alias names. But here how you are going to mention whenever you are creating a joins, I cannot mention a same table with a different name, right? I need to physically or logically need to be available here. In that context, I am going to make a reference of it. Reference is nothing but it is not going to be a duplicate copy. It always point to that one, so that if I delete two other columns in a parent table, automatically this table also get deleted. So always those two will be sync. So whenever I want to perform a join also, there will not be any mismatches between those tables, right? So that is what reference. And move to a group, you can organize your tables as part of a groups, as part of a different folder structures. So at the time, we can create a new group. You can create a group, and you can provide some description. Click on OK. Now you can move your tables to that group. You can move to a group. So then after, like here, you can organize your tables with a proper folder structures, proper modules. You can organize. Then after, you can organize the tables in a group however you want, like move up or a move down. You can move up or move down your tables. And here, that is what move to a group, like as you are already there in a sales. If you want to move to another group called other queries, the other group name is other queries. Or if you want to create a new group, you can move up and move down. We already done. So create a functions. It is M functions. If you want to create, you can use it. We are going to discuss later. And advanced editor is nothing but it's one of the very important window in the Power BI. Okay. So here it is saying that boss, this table source is nothing but sales data. I think I created it was based on a reference. But if you select advanced editor, if you select advanced editor, here you can see from where you loaded that table. In that, what is the sheet name? In that, what are the columns and the data types are available here. So as it is Excel, it is saying that Excel source. If it is SQL Server, it is going to tell you the SQL Server source. Okay. So advanced editor is going to showcase the exact query that you return for that table or that query. Okay. And properties. Properties are nothing but what is the table name, what is the description, and you can provide. Like if you want to rename your table, you can rename it, or if you want to provide some description, you can provide it. And enable load to report. Enable load to report means you want to load the data into this table or not. Okay, disabling load will remove the table from the report, and any visual that you use the columns will be broken. Why? Because you are not loading the data. The data will not be flow to the visualizations. At that time, automatically visual will be broken. So you want to load the data into report or not? If I don't want, anyways, even if you add it as part of refresh or not, no use. If you are not loading the data, what is the need to refresh? So that's why the below one got disabled. I want to load the data, but I don't want to refresh. Whenever you perform a refresh, all the tables are getting refreshed, right? I don't want to perform a refresh. I don't want to perform a refresh on that one. So include in a report refresh. If I use by default, whenever you perform a refresh all, it will get refreshed. Or if you remove this one, it will not be refreshed whenever you perform a refresh. Enable load to refresh. I don't want to load the data into the table. You can disable it. So these are the two options which are there independently over here. Those are not discussed, those are covered here. So these are the options which are available at a query level. And I said, boss, this option is very important. What is that much important? Where it is going to useful to you is, let's consider a scenario. People are still joining. Okay.
So,
Yes.
Srinivas,
Raghunath, go ahead.
actually we lost the power here. So can you please explain one more time? So just like what you are explaining right now.
You said
So
you just
like
now you rejoined now.
yes.
Okay, fine. So I'm repeating that one. So okay, fine. So the options which are available here, those are not so great, frankly. First of all, so let me revise them as early as possible. So copy and paste that, like if you want to delete a table, you can delete. If you want to rename a table, you can rename it. And you duplicate, like whenever you wanted to work on a same table with a different views. At the time, if you work on a original table, your original table you are going to lose it. Let's assume you are performing a join on two tables on inner join. Your source table is getting changed. At the time, you might require the usage of complete table in another visual. At the time, you are going to duplicate the table and you are going to work on it. Sometimes you are going to perform a self join kind of a thing. In SQL, you can create an alias and you can work on it. But here, you are going to create a reference. And if you want to organize your tables, you can create it as a groups. You can create as a new group and you can organize your tables. Like whatever the modules of data that you have, you can organize them. And once you create a group, you can move up and move down the tables in the positions. And then after create function, we are going to have a discussion. And advanced editor is nothing but, regarding this I am going to explain now. So it is going to contain the connection string information. The connection string information is nothing but, generally you know about a connection string. Connection string refers what is the database and what is the server. But here it is going to refer the connection about the table. For the table, that table was loaded with what query. That query will be available here. Okay. So here, understand a scenario. Understand a scenario that there are two versions are here. One developer loaded a data, he constructed a model, he created a reports, he shared with the users. Everything is fine. It is working fine. You joined in that company. That fellow left or that fellow given a handover to you regarding that Power BI. It might be different team. It may not be new company. From a different team or different person hand over that document to you. Then after that document is with you and you are going to take care of that maintenance activity. You don't know much about that like domain and logics and everything. You know Power BI and you have that report. There was an issue came. This report contains almost 15 tables and 3 different connections. 15 tables, let's assume we have 3 different connections we have. There was one production issue came. They are saying that the data is not matching or something else. There are some issues there. So what you need to understand, from where the measure is created, the first minimum basic thing. Okay, they will say that boss, this visual, this measure is representing a wrong data. Whenever they mention about it representing a wrong data, it represents a wrong data. So you will get to know what measure, which table, which table. Now we have some other questions will come into picture. You will get to know what is the measure, what is the table. But in a Power BI, in a in a Power BI, you are going to load 15 tables there from a 3 connections. You will get to know that boss, from this table I have that measure and dimension. How do you know that this table is coming from a which connection? You don't need anything, you recently moved to there. You don't know that that table was loaded from which connection. You want to know from where you will get to know that one. That is the first point. That you can get from somewhere else, no need to worry at all. The first requirement is you captured the issue table, but there are 4 connections are there. You don't know that table is connecting from which source. First thing you need to fix that one. You need to understand that one. That you can understand by using a different way. You found that that was connected from a source called 2. From a source 2, you are loading the table based on naming convention or based on some other thing. You found that one. Then after, what is the query? I understood that this table was loaded from that specific database. I understood. At that time, I need to understand, is this table is exactly a physical table available there, or is this table is getting the data from a query which is written for a 10 joins? I don't know. We know that this data, this specific table data is getting from a one source, but I am not sure about that. I am not sure that is it an exact table available in my database. If it is there, I am happy. I will check. Is the how much records are there? How many records are there? Did I apply any filters? I will check and I will close it. But if this fellow who don't know anything, he created some nonsense. He given a one SQL query. At the time of connecting SQL server, he written a query. He didn't create a view, or he didn't create a table. He didn't create a procedure. But he created one SQL query as there is an option. He is from SSRS or some other background. He written query everything as part of query window at connection time. Now you need to understand, boss, is this a physical exact table or a view or a procedure call or a function, or is it a query which is written by using a 5 joins or 10 joins with where conditions order by having by everything? You need to understand. How do you understand that which is coming from a query or a table? That is very very important. You will get to know that one by using that advanced editor. Advanced editor is going to tell you that, boss, this is the server name, this is the database name, this is the query that it done. You can understand. Okay, then you will feel that this fellow didn't create a view, he created a unnecessary query, and that query, then you need to evaluate, does it having any filtering, does it not performing any join properly? Then you are going to understand. If you want to see the dependency, this table is coming from a which source? We have a view dependencies option is there. At high level you can see it. Query dependencies, this option is there. From there you can see that this table is coming from a which source, you can understand. But this will not tell you that this table, did we apply any filters? It will not tell you. As it is Excel, you cannot apply any filters, fine. If it is SQL server, it is going to tell you that, boss, this connection, this table is loading from this source. But are you loading the complete table or are you loading the query? That will not tell you. Where you are going to find is, you can find that one as part of advanced editor. The advanced editor is going to showcase you the query, whatever you written. That's why that is very important. And then after, the properties is nothing but the options of, like, if you want to provide some name to your table, you can give it, or if you want to provide a description, you can provide a description. And enable load to report. If you want to load the data, in a report, you can enable it, or if you don't want to load the data for the table, you can disable the data load. Whenever you disable the data load, which will not mean that I don't want to load the data, right? Then what is the need to add as part of refresh list? That will be by default removed. Okay, so enable include in report refresh means by default whenever you refresh, all the tables get refreshed, right? But I don't want to get refreshed whenever I perform a refresh. You can exclude from a refresh. Okay, I know that my dimensions are not going to change, my dimensions are fixed. At that time, what is the need for each and every time to refresh all the dimensions? I know that only the facts are going to change. I am very sure about my dimensions. I have 20 dimension tables are there, only 2 or 3 fact tables are there. What is the need to what is the need to refresh 20 dimensions each and every time? What is the need to refresh the date dimension each and every time? If I am confident or if I am aware of everything, I can disable the load, so that the refresh will happen first. So if you don't want, you can remove from the refresh, one time refresh. Those are the options which are available at a table level of the queries. And at a column level, you have some options are there. So here, copy, if you want to copy a column, you can copy it, or if you want to copy a table, the entire table also you can copy it. So copy, which is going to copy the column, and you can open an Excel. So if you want to paste it, or if you want to extract it, Power BI is not telling that boss I am supporting extract, but you can extract it. You can select the entire table and you can extract it. So sometimes we are going to load the data from some online source where you don't have any staging. At the time, if you want to load it, whether it is loading all the data or sample data, if you want to check, if you want to validate it, if you want to extract it, at the time you can copy and paste it. That is what copy. Remove, if you want to remove a column, you can remove it. So if you want to remove a column, you can remove it. Or if you want to remove a column other than this column, if you want to remove all the other columns, remove other columns option is there. And duplicate a column, if you want to duplicate a column, you can duplicate it. If you want to duplicate a column, you can duplicate that column. And the next one, add column from examples, we'll see later. Remove duplicates, if you want to remove the duplicates of that specific column, you can. So all these are at a column level options. Okay, so whatever the transformation that we are doing, those are specific to a column. So if you want to remove the duplicates, you can remove it. So it is from a top level, whatever the distinct values are there, those are getting displayed. A specific use case, if you want to consider, bus, I want to create a dimension for a state. Yes, add as a new query. I have a new table is there. I will give a name called state or state dimension. The named state I will provide. Here I have duplicates are there. I need to remove the duplicates. I have a state dimension. I have a city dimension. I have book name dimension. Then after I have fact table, I will create a relationship. So we are going to make it. So use case you will get like whenever you are working with one or two requirements. But the option like remove duplicates on this column, if you have any duplicates, those will be removed. And remove duplicates and remove errors. If there are any errors are there, those will get removed. Okay, so if I have any errors are there, that will get removed. So now if I have any errors means the logical errors. Okay, logical errors are nothing but like whenever you are writing your measure, or whenever you are writing a new column concept. So if your DAX expression is wrong, it is going to say at the time itself, before execution itself, it will tell you if your query is wrong. But sometimes at that time, at that context, that will works fine. But whenever the data changes, because you not handle that exceptions properly, that will fail. That will fail. So here I have a two columns are there. I created one table with two columns. I want to add one more column over here. Add a custom column. Whenever I add a custom column, I want to perform A by B. Whenever I perform A by B, so here the infinity came. The infinity is an error here, though it is showcasing a value there. It is an error. But what I want to do is, wherever I have infinities, I don't want to consider those records. That is, that is an error. Infinity is an error. Divided by 0 is an error. But after performing my calculation, after performing my calculation, I don't want to load the data which contains infinity in my report. Okay. In that context, what I will do? I will say that bus remove errors. It was not removed, but remove errors. Let me replace errors. Infinity. 1 second. I can generate by doing some nonsense there, but a proper meaningful thing is 1 second. Let me refresh this preview. Let me do something. So add a custom column. So here infinity is not taking as an error here. Fine, we'll check this context later, but let me create another one. It was showcasing some errors. It is saying that we cannot apply operator plus between the text and type integer. It is saying an error. Okay, so if I wanted to remove these errors, if I wanted to remove the errors, you can remove it. Or if you want to replace that error with something else, you can replace the errors. Wherever the error is there, unfortunately we have two things are errors. So I can provide as a -1. I want to replace my error with a -1. Okay. So whenever there is an error, you can replace that error or you can remove that error with the help of whatever you want. That is what, or replace or remove the error. That infinity why it was not worked, we'll check later. So remove other columns, duplicate a column, remove duplicates, remove errors, change type. If you want to change your data type to any other data type, you can use change it. And a transform, like if you want to transform your data based on the data type, it is going to showcase. As it is a numeric column, as it was a numeric column, let me remove some records from this table. So here, if I want to like change type, I said based on the data type. If you want to change the data, change into other data type, you can change it. And a transform, if you want to transform into uppercase or lowercase, or if you want to find the length, or if you want to remove the spaces which you are getting, or if you are having multi-word values, you want to capitalize each word first letter. If you want to capitalize, you can capitalize it. So that is up to the requirement based on the data type of a column. It is going to convert into JSON, going to convert into Excel format. Or if you want to trim, if you want to lowercase, uppercase, capitalize, length, everything you can make it. As it is a string column, and as it is a numeric column, it is having another options. Round. You have a round, round up, round down is there. Round up and round down is nothing but ceiling and a floor in your SQL server, which is going to the next number or a previous number. Round is nothing but if you want to round it to a specific number of decimals, you can round it. Okay, and a absolute value, if you want to represent a negative value with respect to positive, it is going to give the positive value of a given number. Okay, sometimes in a live environment, even though you have a negative value, you should not represent the value with a minus. You are going to display some symbol and you are going to represent the value. How you are going to achieve that one? For a negative value, you are going to represent with a red, or you are going to represent with some flag, but you should not represent minus. In that context, what you are going to do is you are going to use two methods. One is for absolute, which will represent a positive value of a given number. Second one is for a KPI, which will consider whether it is a negative or positive, and it is going to generate a symbol. So absolute, that is one of the use case. Okay, so absolute is nothing but it is going to give the positive value of a given number. Factorial, if you want to calculate a factorial of a given number, or if you want to find the logarithm with a base 10 or base e, or if you want to calculate the power n to the power of m a square of a given number, a cube of a given number, you can calculate. So these are the basic things. That's why I'm not showcasing. Like if you want 800 square, the square or cube of a given number, you can calculate this. So text, if it is available in the text format, these are the transformations. Sometimes your numbers also can be of type text, right? You can be represented in the form of a text. In that scenario, if you wanted to find a length, or if you other things will not apply here, or a clean or a trim, if you want to get that one, you can use these text transformations. Replace value. I want to replace a value, a character with any other character in the same column, or if I want to replace a value with another value, if I want to replace, I can replace it. And if I want to replace a character with any other character, I can replace. So there I have the basic and advanced option is there. Advanced means based on the case sensitivity, match entire cell context and replace using a special characters, like that is regular expressions. If you want to use any regular expressions, you can use it. And replace errors, if you have any error, you can replace that value with any other value. Okay, so whatever the calculation that I made previously, some textual value with a numeric value, there are some times which are going to get success, but whenever you refresh, at that time that is going to reevaluate. Whenever your source system send a new values, but that new values, it might or it might not work for that expression. At that time, as part of a next step, you can perform a replace a value with some further flag. Okay, so that can be represented in different way, or that can be removed. That is what replace errors. And the next one is split a column. Split a column into multiple columns based on number of characters. So for each and every 3 characters, I want to generate a multiple columns. You can see for each and every 3 characters, it was a new column was generated, and the other columns were getting displayed. And in the same way, boss, I don't want that many number of columns. I want only first three characters in one column, remaining all in another column I require. This is that one. Or if I want last three characters as one column and first all the characters in another column. Okay. So if you want to split a column into multiple columns, you can based on delimiter or based on number of characters. I showcased based on number of characters. It has three options, that leftmost, rightmost, repeatedly. Leftmost means first n number of characters will be one column, remaining all in another column. Rightmost means right n number of characters in one column, before that all are in another column. And repeatedly for each and every three characters will be separated in another column. And here you have an option called advanced. Advanced option is there. What do you mean by advanced? Instead of generating a new column, generate a rows. Okay. So on last three characters as a separate column generated, right? I don't want a new column, I want to generate a new rows. At that time what will happen? Now you have how many records? 32 records. It is generating a two columns, you understood. So 32 into 2, 64 records you are going to get. Instead of generating a column, you got another row you have got. Okay. So that is what advanced option there. And on the other hand, that is what number of delimiters, number of characters as a delimiter. The next thing one is based on a delimiter. Sometimes you might have a delimiter, you can give as a delimiter. Let's assume I have an email ID. I have an email ID. I want to take my usernames in a one column, their domains as another column, where the delimiter is at the rate. Or I want to extract exact domain name. I want to remove .com last four characters in a separate space after extracting the domain names. So in that context, I don't know, something is happening there. Fine. Split a column by a delimiter. You can mention a delimiter there, and you can define a custom delimiter wherever the p is there. I want to separate as a two columns. The p will not come. That is a delimiter. Andhra is one thing. There after p another column you are going to get. Wherever the p came, it was came in a two different columns. Only one p occurred. And here, here also advanced is nothing but same option. Okay, and here rightmost, leftmost. As we have only one item, this will not be considered into matter. But if I consider a or a r as those have a multiple occurrences, as those having a multiple occurrences, d leftmost delimiter, and the first two characters you need to represent in one column, remaining all in another column it need to come. Okay, so an, the first d delimiter, remaining all in another one. If I applied repeatedly, do you have another d also? You are going to get a three columns. That is what a split column is. A split column is going to split. It is going to split your column into multiple columns with the help of a delimiter or n number of characters. You can split with respect to columns, or you can split with respect to rows. That is what a split option. And the next one is group by.
Srinivas,
So yes,
yeah, can we stop today's class?
yes, I'm also stopping. I'm also in this. I'm stopping now. I know who's spoken. Raghunath. Okay, fine,
Yeah,
fine. So I'm stopping here. We'll continue from here in the next session. So I will update